We'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which this project is created, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We would also like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging.
Settle down and gather round for another tale. In the world of Nua, where time has carved and cultivated a magical utopia of wonder, a small group of adventurers unlock the deep mysteries of the land, its people, and themselves. Welcome to the Down Under Dungeon podcast.
Good morning, my love. Days are strange in this shadowy place, so though I can't tell day from night, I started us off with some morning aerobics you used to be so fond of. It's a lot easier to do them in the cool shaded Shadowfell than in the hot desert air of the Sidewinder Canyon, and at least brought us a small moment of levity before the day's events. The Myconid colony started to lead us slowly along the path through the petrified trees, their calm guidance the opposite of my hypervigilance with the warnings of the stone sentinels. It was an ominous and treacherous way of passage. One wrong turn and I immediately lost the group. Then, immediately heard fighting and shouts in the distance. Of course they got themselves in trouble when I was gone for 2 seconds. But instead of my motley crew, I found myself standing facing Sigurd Scruff, collapsed and barely breathing, bleeding from bullet wounds all over his body. He spoke of legacy, that I left him behind and that he'd disappointed me. Have I truly been so callous and harsh? Too focused and yet distant? How many people have I left in my wake? In my grief, how selfish have I been? Scruff faded despite everything I tried. I told him the truth of how proud I am of him, but nothing could stop him passing. And as I clutched at his form, I found myself holding instead the branches of Noninya, telling me to weep not for those I left behind, but for those whom have no one to weep for them. Fading back into the forest, all the grief I've endured could be contained no longer. I don't know if this forest shows what is true or merely reflects on us our fears, but I think despite those possibilities, the truth of the words I heard has shaken me more than anything. I eventually reunited with Denny, drained and exhausted, having faced his own turmoil, his chipper mask for once fallen. We quickly found the other Wellspringers once again, each with haunted looks in their eyes, and finally managed to move past the tree line with the lights of our next destination on the horizon. After shaking off the stupor and a moment of solitary reflection, there was a massive noise across the beach. Feng, after having woken all of us up and given us some perspective, he'd planted some beans that grew into a giant willow treant who was quickly worshipped by the Myconids. After such a harrowing, brutal day, it was nice to see some joy and dance around on the beach with my friends. I hope all of this is worth it. I miss you. All my love, Louis.
It's actually crazy, the similarities between the Breaking Bad and the Simpsons movies. They're weirdly similar, actually.
Just the movies or the TV show?
Well, they both end up like... No, just the movies. The TV show's very different.
Yeah.
But like the movie, like they both end up like the whole goal is to flee to Alaska. And that's really it. But, you know, that'll do.
There's one similarity.
That'll do for opening banter.
Spider Pig.
No, I don't remember the scene in Breaking Bad where Walter White sings Spider Pig, guys?
Are we just starting every one of these with a new song now?
I think so.
Yeah.
No, we are not pushing our copyright like that. Anyway, great session last week, gang. We're getting really stuck into the Umbra Isles. Very different from your voyage and indeed your adventures in Nua.
Can we have like a mental and emotional break for a week, please?
Yeah, thank you for that trauma.
I don't pay you to...
You don't pay us.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back, everyone, to the session. We're going to gloss past that very quickly. Following the Wellspringers from last week and their journeys in the Putrescent Woods, where you all fought off being possessed by the spirits of the desolation itself. Luckily, you were all deemed worthy and were able to pass through out onto a small beach overlooking Cinder Harbour and your ultimate goal to try and get into Caldera City via Fuma Town. Upon the beach, Feng planted a seed which luckily grew into the first tree that has grown in this place for thousands and thousands of years. A mighty, did I say oak or willow? I think I said willow. Willow treant that was luckily aligned good and was immediately taken under the wing like a clucky chook by the Myconid men. And that's where we left our team resting after their spooky walk.
Yeah, spooky walk's one way to put it.
You are about to cross over the harbour. Where do we find the Wellspringers in this moment?
Feng actually would like to have been working on something. It would have taken 8 hours. So Feng is trying to thank these Myconids for accompanying them this entire journey through Shadowfell. It's so funny because Daniel was expecting that it would just be like small combat after small combat after small combat, but it's been so much more like psychological and emotional, which, you know, sure. But I think it has been easier because we've been accompanied by these Myconid folk. And so I would like to try something, but the problem is that when they broke my staff, I don't have a spell casting focus anymore. So can I cast a spell?
What spell would you like to cast?
Plant growth.
I'll let you make a wisdom check. I think this is very cool for you to do this in this place. So I already have a plan for your spell focus, so I don't see how you casting it without a staff is going to make much of a difference. So I will allow it.
Yeah, I think Feng is just looking up to the Myconids and saying, thank you so much for taking us this whole way. I know that this treant may feel like payment, and Feng will do air quotations around payment, might feel enough, but I want to help with your actual mission and see if I can, grow some mushrooms for you. And so with plant growth, if you cast the spell over 8 hours, you enrich the land and all plants within a half-mile radius centered on your point, and they are enriched for 1 year. The plants yield twice the normal amount of food when harvested, and so Feng would like to focus on the electric current of the Myconids, clutch the charm around his neck, and see if he can make this spell happen.
Give me either a nature check or an arcana check.
God, those are both shit.
Can I help with Arcana? If you want to do Arcana, I can give you the help action with that.
I have a -1.
But isn't that for nature too?
I have a +2 for nature.
Oh, never mind.
I think the advantage is better though, right?
A little crunchy moment here, but I think it does work out to roughly the same, but your call.
I suppose Feng's focusing on the nature side of this, so I suppose maybe I should do nature. So I'll roll flat DM.
Louis wants to take a second, sees Feng doing this moment, trying to create this thanks, and just wants to come up, pat him on the shoulder, and give him a bardic inspiration.
Thank you very much.
Go for it.
That's a nat 20.
Oh my gosh.
When I say it was charged, baby. Labradorite.
Feng, I'm going to meet you halfway on this. You will only be able to take a short rest tonight, not a long rest, if you want to cast this spell. But you can conduct this ritual if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just take a short rest. It will give me back my 1 wild shape that I'd used. I'm still missing some spell slots, but I'd much rather help the Myconids.
And I think Feng finishes up his spell probably as the rest of the Wellspringers awake the next morning, quote unquote, next moonrise, I guess, when you all awaken on the harbour, and you see that this place has been transformed. With the effects of the growth spell, you see putting 4.
Put 3 was the mantelope.
Oh.
So we have Pud 2 and 4 with us.
Yeah.
Keep up.
Pud 4 has grown to about 4 times the size as what they were the last night when it was summoned by the magic bean. You see that the branches of this willow extend out far over the harbour now, and it seems that even despite the brackish waters, this willow tree with Feng's spell has decided to take permanent root here. And it almost reminds you a little bit like Nonina, Louis, in this moment, this huge willow tree, and you see sprouting out from its base all the way up to sand and back into the woods, these thick veins and almost like an ore running through rock. but of massive colonies of mushrooms and fungi, taller than the trees around them, in these like fantastic neon purple and yellow, bathing in the moonlight. It almost seems like you have conjoined both this willow tree to the mycelium network underneath it, and now it no longer requires light to grow, and it lives in an almost symbiotic relationship with the mushrooms.
Feng will just say to himself and say, I didn't think I would actually be able to get my different kinds of magic to work together, but hey, maybe I'm getting better.
And you see, as you finish the spell, put number 4, this singular being crafted from the very weave itself, reduced in this way in its verbiage, holds out a hand to you, Feng, as it bends down, and you see that it has retrofitted your staff. The sunstones have been melted by amber, and you see a new staff has been forged with curved, spiraling willow wood, dripping almost with these like glass shards of orange, yellow, amber, and encased within are these like small, tiny creatures. It seems that this staff is like a living memory of life itself, and the treant snaps it from itself and hands it to you.
Feng grabs the staff. Yeah, fuck yeah.
This is a new improved staff. It gives you +1 to your spell save DC
Oh shit.
and +2 to your spell attacks.
Oh,
Whoa.
oh, you're so fucked.
This staff is called the Staff of the Living Dawn.
Feng slams down his Staff of the Living Dawn, beats his chest on the armor of Daybreak, and he's like, I'm ready. I've got this.
Doing some tribal fucking shit.
I don't know if anyone else is ready, but I'm ready, and that's all that matters.
All the monsters of Shadowfell are not going to know what's going to hit them.
Yeah. Denny, you remember back to the day before when you tuned into the language of the Myconid men and you sensed that there was a massive nexus of the mycelium circle somewhere deeper in the woods. Looking around at the mushrooms now, you deduce logically that Feng must have done what the Myconid men were sent to do within a day, and has, in a sense, created a new nexus here at the water's edge within the putrescent woods.
Oh my god. Oh. Wait, do I get the sense that there are a lot more myconoids on the way then?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, Denny's going to address the whole group and say, guys, there's a lot of these mushroom guys on their way. Look, I'm not saying that they're necessarily a bad news for us, but I'm not particularly willing to stick around. I've used a lot of mushrooms in my cooking.
Feng, with the intensity of 1,000 suns, is just gonna say, now we have an army to fight them. This is what we needed.
Okay, thank you. Poor Denny's a little more worried about it, but okay, if you think you can make them into an army, man.
Nah, I'm just joking.
Wait, would the plant growth thing have affected the other myconoids that are now on their way?
Only within a half mile.
Is it within a half mile?
No.
Okay. Oh, okay. So,
Deep within the woods.
So it'll be a
wait,
while.
we got a little bit of time, but
Well, if we're gonna have company soon and we need to get going, I took last night and I kind of thought about how we're gonna get across, and I think it'd be nice to give a little tribute to the way we sort of came here through the Halligast and all those troubles and tribulations. So I can make us a little boat that can get us pretty far across,
Sick.
I think.
Pretty far, but not all the way.
I mean, it lasts about 3 hours, so, I mean, probably, hopefully, most of it. I can animate it to kind of twitch itself as well.
So then the you said that the willow branches extend over the harbour. How far roughly?
Probably around 50 to 100 feet.
Okay.
That could get us part of the way there, and then we can jump down onto a boat.
It's a start. I'm up for that.
yeah, I guess Denny's gonna pipe up and say, "Oh wait, let's go deep."
Let's do it.
You see the Myconid men bid you farewell.
Sorry, I forgot about them. I was gonna
Crap out of me.
bye.
The Myconid men bid you farewell as Pud 4 extends her branches and leaves and lifts you out over the water 100 feet and holds you there. You see the dark expanse of Cinder Harbour in front of you. What's your plan?
So Louis is going to, into the water below them, create like a medium-sized, just a little bit more than a rowboat, kind of somewhere between a canoe and a rowboat. It's sort of made of a tapestry of different woods, kind of all melded in together and blended in like almost a Tetris of a combination that feels hand-worn, hand-hewn, and probably maintained over several generations. And then she's going to use her... So that's my performance of creation feat. And then I'm going to use my animating performance to give it life. I can animate one large or smaller non-magical item. It is friendly to me and it obeys my commands, so I can command it to push itself across the water.
Wonderfully lazy. I am all for this.
At least for an hour.
You are all up above about 50 feet in the air in the branches of this willow, and you see this boat rise from the water underneath. You still have to jump down to get to it.
Danny's going to offer, all right, everybody aim for the boat. 3, 2, 1, go! And as we jump out, I cast our honeyed landing to soften all of our blow.
Soften your blow.
Aren't we jumping 50 feet into a boat?
Oh, yes, of course. You all descend, and Denny hucks out this jar of honey, which smashes onto the boat. Never getting that out of the window.
It's extra lacquer, it's fine, it'll solidify.
And you all land safely. And the boat, of its own accord, I'm not doing a voice for the boat, begins to propel itself across Cinder Harbour. Wellspringers, you can make whatever kind of check you'd like. Obviously, perception is just going to get you the general feel of things, but if you want some more specific information on what you're looking for, let me know, and let me know what you are rolling.
Feng is going to forego a check and spend 10 minutes to ritual cast water breathing, which lasts 24 hours. The spell grants up to 10 willing creatures you can see within range the ability to breathe underwater until the spell ends. Affected creatures also retain their normal mode of respiration. So Feng is just, while he can see them all, about to look over the edge of the boat and towards Fuma Town. He's going to say, oh, actually, quickly, if you just open your mouth, I'm going to shoot some fire in there, and then Feng just launches just a giant fireball down their throat to give them 24 hours of water breathing, just in case anything happens to the boat.
The byproduct is, like, you kind of, like, breathe smoke a little bit.
How many creatures is it?
Up to 10.
Well, actually, you know what? He's a construct, don't worry about him.
Can I make the boat breathe?
I'm not doing a voice for the boat.
Come on, surely old gruff sailor.
5!
I'll kill you all.
Can Denis please make a Arcana check just to see if there is any negative effects to going into this water and what they might be? That's a nat 1.
Yeah.
The water looks tasty as hell, dude.
Guys, I think we should drink some water.
So, Lysandra, Louis, give me perception checks.
Louis got a 23.
Lysandra got a 21.
You're both rolled above a 20, so immediately you both see Denny, like, leaning over the side of the boat to, like, literally drink seawater of his own volition, and you know he's not under any spell or any kind of incantation.
As soon as Denny is grabbed, he's going to start shouting, "Bad touch, bad touch!"
Denny, remember the Krakens? Just remember the Krakens.
With those perception checks, Louis and Lysandra, you set out across the water, and thankfully you realise that the conditions are much calmer than you expected. Gentle waves begin to lap at the sides of your raft, and the hollow breeze of the putrescent woods is replaced with the empty silence of the open water. A few hours into the crossing, you begin to notice the water beneath you change. Powerful currents begin pulling and tugging at your boat, Louis, from beneath, indicating that the water here must be incredibly deep indeed. In the middle of Cinder Harbour, it appears as though you are in the clutches of the Maw of Shadowfell itself, and its arms are reaching out and enclosing you. In the middle of the bay, I am going to need the Wellspringers to make, everyone to make a perception check now. You need to roll above a 20 to get the best possible outcome here.
Okay. Feng got a dirty 20.
Lysandra got a dirty 20.
Denis got a 12.
Lily got an 18.
While the glow of Fuma Town is getting closer and closer, the emptiness of the harbour has also enabled you to see other lights off to the south and southwest. It appears Shadowfell is not as dead as you had once imagined. Lysandra and Feng, as Denny and Louis squabble endlessly over the argued benefits and ill effects of drinking salt water, you two suddenly notice an absence of noise. The waves have ceased lapping at the sides of your boat, and the water appears smooth like glass and begins emanating a thick fog. No, steam.
Feng goes to feel the water to see if it's heating up.
You pull your hand back quickly, Feng, as you touch the scalding water. A deep red glow begins emanating from the depths beneath the ship. The frigid water begins to bubble and boil, and soon the visage of an enormous, fiery face emerges in the deep below you, just below the water's surface. A fire pours from its eyes and mouth, solidifying and hardening into stone, creating an enormous magma face.
Stone Sentinel.
Fuck's sake. In my head, I was like, is it the Phoenix? Do Phoenixes grow this big?
I was like, what?
Shit.
Lysandra and Feng, I'm saying you have time to react here, whereas Louis and Denny, you did not see it in time to react. What would you like to do, you two?
Lysandra is going to immediately summon her echo as far away as possible to try and distract this beast.
The enormous being begins dragging itself from the water. You see two powerful arms, cords of roped magma, cracking, hissing, and resealing into hard stone with every movement. Two pitiful vestigial wings protrude from the back, and the being moans and groans in pain as he descends to your eye level. The heat from his proximity alone causes you to shield your face from the radiating heat, and when his mouth opens, you hear the roar of an enormous furnace within. As he stands there, it seems that the fire that is just slothing off him is actually creating this miniature island in the middle of this harbour, and the being bellows in rage, and you can feel the water vibrate and shake around you.
So he didn't go for the shadow.
A deep, booming voice with like the raspiness of a fireplace. I am Waganju. Who would dare approach the elemental of fire, the bringer of all ends, the seerer of fate and death? Are you insane? I'm like super, super deadly. This isn't like a death wish or anything, is it? Because I really don't have the emotional bandwidth right now to hold space for others with my own stuff. And I know that that's selfish, but I've come far enough to know to take care of myself before others. Do you feel me? You all stand up, like mouth open, like Louis, your boat starts to catch fire from the residual heat.
Denny's gonna say, why are you talking about Feng like that?
Yeah, Feng stands up and says, yeah, you mentioned fire. Did you say my name? What are you asking? What?
You see Waganju goes, and like leans down onto his elbows to get a closer look at you, Feng. I'm gonna roll for Waganju. He looks at you, Feng, and goes, yep, that's brimstone, alright. Where did you come from? Oh, must have killed everyone then.
We came from Nua, the...
Ua?
the material plane. No, okay, west.
Westerlings.
Yes, we are Westerlings. We knew that word.
That's a cool word.
I didn't know much about you here. I thought this place was too far east for you all. Don't you need that little son of yours?
Again, you keep talking about him like he's not here.
Yeah, Feng just taps his chest a little bit and lets out a little bit of daylight, and he says, "Oh, I'm kind of like a walking torch, and so, and also, you know this." And Feng summons Promi, allows the small phoenix to fly around his head, and says, "This deal as well, you know."
When you summon Promi, Feng, Waganju recoils and says, "Ah, get it away from me! Get it away from me!"
Why? What's your deal? You're kind of rude.
Oh my god, do you respect other people's triggers? Get it away from me!
Fine. Feng de-summons Promi unwillingly.
Waganju then explains to the party that he was once an ancient deity, resting within the mantle of Nua itself, before he was awoken and in his fury destroyed most of Shadowfell. Cast into the depths of Cinder Harbour, he remained in his continued shame and exile. The excruciating pain of the water deemed small penance for all the life he took in his mindless rage. What awoke him? The lament of a phoenix, a plea for help. Waganju believes the water keeps him contained, and so here he will stay.
Feng asks, was that phoenix cry recently? Do you have a concept of time?
Unfortunately, I've been here a long time, but the last time I heard it, it sent me into a fury. I had to help it. It seemed like it was injured or hurt, and the next thing I came to, I looked around and everything was burnt and black. I couldn't live with myself after that, so I slept at the bottom of this harbour here. I'd speak to the occasional fishermen, give them a story that their wives will never believe, but that's pretty much the extent of my joy now.
Then he's gonna ask Waganju, "Excusez-moi, sorry, did you used to live in Mount Sylvanus?"
You see, he points back to Mount Admonition, and you remember that was the site of the portal of the Feywild, and now it is a crater where Caldera City rests.
Sorry, I thought that it was Mount Sylvanus. Do you want me to ask that with Mount Admon?
It was Mount Sylvanus.
Mount Sylvanus was what it was called when it was the Feywild portal, and
sorry.
that's what erupted, yeah.
I was thinking of like, why am I such a dick and just calling it random shit?
No.
Yeah.
You helped the phoenix and then you woke up and everything was burnt. Have you seen it since then, or?
You see, Waganju shakes his head and says, "I do not know where the phoenix went. If there was one thing I couldn't kill, perhaps it would be a bird of fire, but I don't know. I hate to think that perhaps it got caught up in my calamity." It seems that the eruption of the volcano might have been an eruption of a volcano to some, and the awakening of an ancient fire elemental within a mountain for others.
Denny would like to point out to Waganju that, hey, buddy, just so you're aware, there was a thriving city over there. The people survived, you did not kill everything. Lots of things, perhaps, but, life finds a way. You're a good man.
You see, he goes, "Yeah, I wish I had your sense of optimism and self-worth, but let's see if you think the same way once you visit Fuma Town."
Oh, could you potentially help us get there?
Sure, I can help you get there, but riding on the back of a fire demon probably isn't gonna be the most conspicuous thing.
Can you help us get there without necessarily you doing it?
I'll try my best.
Lysandra's going to pipe up and bring her shadow back to her. Well, before we go on our way, have you ever thought about redeeming yourself?
You see the fire demon thinks about this for a second and says, "Redemption always seems something too far off for me to reach."
Well, as a fellow demon, she points to the horns, I don't think redemption is too far to reach, and potentially we can help you and you can help us, and if we need a hand or a flame, you would be a great person for that, or a great being. So basically, I and my friends are going to free my dad, who is locked up in the center of Caldera City, because we want to change the world, change what happened here, free everyone. And from the sounds of it, that could be redemption of sorts.
You see Waganju really grumbles at this, turns to the rest of you all and says, "Look, I can get you as far as Fuma Town. I can do that."
I mean, we'll take that, right?
I mean, Daniel's just thinking, get him to take you as far as possible, and then you can always convince him more later, so...
You see, Louis, your boat is quickly losing all structural integrity in this heat. And you see Waganju, the fire elemental, just breaks off part of his body and reforms it into this, like, stone bowl that he makes a bigger stone bowl for, fills the bigger stone bowl full of water, puts the smaller stone bowl in it, puts you all in the smaller stone bowl, and then just pushes you through the water.
We are the soup.
And you slowly but surely begin your movement across the bay. You see that with this fire elemental is essentially your engine. You are pushing through the water far quicker than you would have beforehand, and soon the lights of Fuma Town begin to beckon you.
While we're doing this, Denny's going to go over to Feng and say, Feng, sorry, could I perchance just borrow a little bit of the eternal flame? I want to make the big guy a soup.
Feng scratches his head and starts to wonder the ramifications of using Phoenix Flame to cook something, and he goes, yeah, actually, I kind of want to see what happens. Yeah, go.
Excellent. Denny starts setting up like soup du jour on the lid for him, and he starts calling up to Waganju. Hey, big fella, what would you like in your soup? I'm gonna make you something special.
Usually he responds half in the water, just like, surprise me.
I like you, man. You're a good dude. I don't care what you say. I think you're all right. And he's going to start just adding everything he can find. He doesn't have heaps, but he's like opening Danny's planar pantry, and then as we move too far past that, he like closes it again and has to open it again, quickly reaching inside, grabbing as much as he can, and is trying to really show Waganju that, like, oh, couldn't be doing this without fire.
Make me a cooking check, Denny, using your bonuses.
Absolutely. All right, +6 to this. 17. You kind of like get this massive bowl of soup and kind of have to like heave and like push it off the back of the boat, and it just goes everywhere into the water. Some of it gets near Waganju's mouth. Most of it just like evaporates before it even reaches the fire inferno within it. But it seems to like steam him up a little bit, like you give him like a facial treatment more than anything else. It's really nice. And he seems to really appreciate that.
Yeah, Feng in this moment actually would like to turn to Waganju and say, actually, I do have a question for you. Why do you view fire yourself so poorly? You've just seen something good that it can create?
You see Waganju says, why, you might be right, small, furry, hot person, but look around you. This is also what fire does.
Feng's gonna look around him and say, yeah, Waganju, there's still life here. There's an entire myconid colony. We saw some crazy little imps on the way in. There's still things here.
But that's all I can do is burn.
And what about all the good things that burning can do? What about all the good things that fire can do? And Feng's gonna, the party's been traveling through Shadowfell for a while now, so I'm sure Feng's got some cuts and bruises on him. So he's gonna cast Produce Flame and use it to like cauterize the cut. Turn to Waganju and say, see, it can even help and heal, and then point behind him to the giant willow tree that's probably still looming on the edge of the harbor, and fish one of the beans out of his pocket and say, even these magic beans were able to grow in the quote-unquote lifeless soil here in Shadowfell, the Umbra Isles. It was still able to grow something.
Make me a persuasion check, Feng, with advantage from Denny's soup.
Sure. Oh, thank you for the advantage, because there is a nat 1 on one of those. But a 19 becomes a dirty 20.
Nice.
The lights of Fuma Town beckon you long before you ever actually see the town itself. flares of oranges, greens, and blues shoot up into the sky over the far side of the harbour, along with consistent plumes of multicoloured smoke furling into the inky blackness above. Waganju, at a safe distance, extracts you from the soup bowl and places you precariously back into the harbour and says, "Look, this is as far as I can take you, but I don't even know if you guys are going to survive, but what the hell." And you see he bends down and breaks off a portion of his pinky finger and crushes it into his hand, holds it out, Feng, and sprinkles this like volcanic dust into the palm of your hand. And he says, "You throw that into any fire and you'll be able to speak to me."
Thank you so much. If anything gets in the way, the other way that I will signal to you, look out to the sky. I'll draw a little picture of my face. Just come there if we need any help.
Right, let me just, and he takes another kneel just to get really close to you again, just to really suss that out.
Do you have memory?
I'm not sure, but I do have a want for redemption, so I'm sure I will associate the two at the appropriate time.
I think you've already redeemed yourself by taking us across.
Really?
Maybe not. We still need help.
Louis, you animate the stone boat, and entering into a long and narrow bay, you see the commerce of the town in full force. Upon either side, higher in the foothills, there are mines and encampments, spilling all the way down to the shoreline via enormous black iron carts pulled by enormous minotaurs the size of hill giants. Along the waterfront, you see enormous refineries and factories, loading their products onto enormous shallow barges, each guarded by intimidating helmeted figures, clad in black and silver armour. Their heraldry shows a sunburst being bisected by a black glaive. The water traffic here is minimal, and with all the action happening on the shoreline, you are blissfully ignored by the workers of Fuma Town, for now. How do the Wellspringers enter this place, dispose of their raft, and try to not draw attention to themselves?
Denny's gonna suggest, while you guys get rid of the raft, me and Bud can keep a lookout, if you like.
Yeah, Feng will nod and say, that works well for me, but also just in case. And Feng will cast a second level Pass Without Trace to give everyone a +10 to stealth and shake the yellow, orange, and red leaves around his wrists.
Feng, you summon some of Waganju's fiery strength and some steam rolls off the harbour, although it looks like fog, so people don't generally tend to notice the difference, and that envelops you as you begin your landing. How are you disposing of this enormous rock boat that's just janked into the side? It looks real inconspicuous, like someone's chopped a Kinder Surprise egg in half.
As we're coming up to the shore, and we realize we need to hide the boat, Louis is going to say, "Okay, I can command this thing to hide, so let's just jump out, and then it can scuttle off." That works?
That works for me.
I love it.
Amazing. So kind of dock in an inconspicuous place as much as we can with a giant stone boat, jump off, and then Louis is going to click her fingers in a little pattern as quietly as she can to animate this boat, and she's going to say, "Okay, I need you to go tuck yourself around a corner, blend yourself into the water, tuck yourself into some stone, I don't know, go hide, play hide and seek. Go.
So the Wellspringers come in under a cloud of steam. And then you all get off hiding under the wharfs and piers out on the shoreline here, and you watch so ominously as this little stone boat just goes back out into the bay and just sinks.
It's good hiding, admittedly.
Well done.
Alright team, you are in a very strange place, and I will say this. For being in Shadowfell, most of you actually fit in here. I mean, we have a goblin, a tiefling, and a furbolg, which are all fairly intimidating and unique species here. So while you might get a second glance, you probably won't be stopped. The same thing cannot be said about your very pale and frail friend, Lady Louis. And I suppose there's also a degree of anxiety given Louis' connection to souls here and the prevalence of souls. So she is definitely looking like the weakest of your flank in this environment.
Yeah, I think Feng's just whispering to the rest of the Wellspringers and saying, we'll hide as much as we can, and if we see an opportunity to like stealth into like a cart that's going to the city, maybe we can hide in that. Or if we see someone who's like in charge and like sending people to the city, let's take them captive and we'll get them to send us. Or is that too much?
A little too much. Let's not make that main plan. Let's go secondary plan.
We could also just steal a cart if we wanted to, Feng.
I just don't know how they get there, so I want to...
We can follow.
Let's follow.
I could scout ahead, see if I can find anything. I just don't think I am going to be caught.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
While we're talking, Louis is also going to cast Disguise Self on herself to make herself look... I'm going to disguise myself as an imp. So Louis is going to do like that same little like body percussion moment and is going to kind of try to disguise herself to look like one of the little imps that was like digging around in the noxious slime tunnels.
Okay, you are all disguised. I will allow you all to make whatever checks you'd like into what specifically you're looking for. This is not a cutesy town. This is an industrial sector with the necessary components to sustain life. Very different. So, what are you specifically looking for?
Feng is trying to perceive if he can see where they're gathering the materials and resources that they're sending to Caldera City, or if he can see how they're sending them to Caldera City.
Louis wants to make an insight check to see if she can find, like, along those lines, following Feng's kind of lead, to try and find potentially a really sort of tired group or someone that's not looking properly to be able to jump in and hide amongst something else.
Oh, good idea.
Denis gonna try and perceive if there's any sort of like military or guard presence here that might pull them up and cause troubles.
Lysandra is going to go and find a tavern or a bar or something like that and try and get some information.
Make me your checks.
Okay.
Louis, we'll start with you.
Okay, my insight check is a 24.
Denis' perception is 14.
Lysandra's perception is only a 7.
And Feng's perception was a 22.
I will say the party splits up, not like one-on-one where you can't see each other, but you're just not moving as a group all together. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're all kind of spread out from each other, moving in the same direction, but at different spaces and speeds, constantly checking up on each other. Louis, with what you're looking for, places to hide, many. But in terms of places where people aren't looking, that's also what you're picking up. And you see one place where no one is paying any attention to. It is this dingy little wooden stand with a sign that's hanging off the front of it just by one rusty nail. The sign reads, the Amalgamated Workers and Miners Alliance, Fuma Sub-Branch, or the AWMA, and underneath you see a small purple imp, apparently cursed with a visage of a scorpion, but where a tail, wings, and several appendages should have been, there is none. Nonetheless, he has a bright green eyes and is very enthusiastic for being the lone representative at the stand. That's what you see.
I love a union. This is so good.
Lysandra, luckily, you don't really see this place, but you hear it from word of mouth in your perception and just by overhearing conversations with miners and things like that. The only really established place to drink, apart from the moonshine labs and stuff that are made in the refineries, is a place called the Stinky Pit. This is Fuma Town's premier drinking establishment, and it's hollowed out from a long abandoned mine shaft.
Love it.
The pit boasts the best brews this side of the harbour, as well as hosting the preeminent fighters and bruisers from all of Shadowfell. The docent there, Dravna, pays a pretty price for any beasties to toss into the ring or any warrior worth their metal to make a measly $1. It's a great place to earn renown, rations, or perhaps be recruited into the ranks of the Gloom Legion itself, and that's all you get.
Is the Gloom Legion another name for the Arms of Belial?
Denny, what did you roll on yours?
14 perception.
Denny, you're looking out for military and guard and things like that, and you, Denny, quickly discern the Gloom Legion. This seems to be the personal army of the Shadow Lord Belial itself, and they dot themselves all the way out through Fuma Town. Predominantly, you are guessing from the occasional ears that you see or patch of skin that they are mostly moon elves, but they appear to be just very strong and capable individuals. From what you can gather, they appear to be his security force, personal guard, ambassadors, administrators, and forces. They kind of do everything, right? But the fact that you can't see their faces behind their helms definitely suggests a level of devout loyalty.
Can I tell if they're holding, like, the same swords that Lysandra has?
None that are holding anything is unique. It's all black iron and black metal.
Sure. Could I make a history check to see if this is the same organization as the Arms of Belial?
Yes, you can.
That's a 14.
With what Lidrin told you, you said that Belial, when he was establishing his rule, had to cast aside the Arms of Belial for being too radical. And so it appears that this is the group that replaced the Arms of Belial.
Yeah.
This is essentially much more of a general militia than an elite fighting force, although still very intimidating. And the fact that all of these people seemingly, without a word, have the lid on a town like this, full of this kind of people, they don't seem any less intimidating than the Arms of Belial, but it seems like this might be the Neo form of it.
Sure.
As Denny points out the Gloom Legion to you, Feng, you see at the far end of the town the main thing that they are guarding. An enormous cable car, which has expanded its way from the base of Mount Admonition right to its tip, right to Caldera City. It seems to be the primary way in and out of the city and the clouds, at least by non-magical means. The whole mechanism is powered by a crank run by similar enormous black minotaurs, but it is constantly moving and constantly observed by the Gloom Legion. And you see they're moving materials, personnel, everything goes up and down these cable cars.
And this is just out from our scouting. Like, we're not, like, in there yet, so we can chat about this.
Where do you want to go first? That's what I'm saying. Where do you want to talk to?
As their party gathers around, Feng's going to be like, okay, I've got 2 crazy ideas. Number 1, we fight our way through to the cable car and try our best. Sounds like a fun plan. Or, my second plan also involves fighting, not usually my style, but what if we went to the Stinky Pit and tried to get recruited into the Gloom Legion to get as close to Belial as we could? No?
Lysandra pipes up. I was about to say the same thing, to be honest. I feel like I might stand a chance.
I think you might as well.
Even if one of us can be recruited, wouldn't that mean something?
I don't know. I was more just...
If that's where the prison is, if one of us can get recruited.
You could get the rest of us in, maybe?
Put us up, be like, these are people who should also be recruited.
Yeah.
That, or I take you to prison.
True. Arrest us.
We could also try creating a distraction of some degree. I'd be happy to swarm myself on the flames and try to escape afterwards. Jump back onto the cat, or Pud could do something like that.
I mean, there is also the administrators over at the Union. They're not exactly terribly looked at, but they might have some connections that could get us onto one of those cards.
Yeah, that's so true. What do we think's our best bet?
I think the recruitment idea is... I have -2 charisma, but I'm kind of into it. So, yeah.
What do we want to do?
I think we should try to go and at least one of us get recruited. If that doesn't work, plan B, we kill them, take the uniforms. If that doesn't work, all hell breaks loose and we sneak up there.
So we all want to be in the Stinky Pit, though.
Well, the Stinky Pit's the name of the tavern.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so we all want to go there, but whether we all want to be in the fighting pit specifically.
No. Yeah,
I don't think splitting up is a great idea.
I agree.
Yeah, and it is.
Sorry, you guys all have disguised self.
Yeah.
Worst comes to worst, I'll turn invisible.
Yeah,
You know, we'll be fine.
we'll be fine.
Decision made.
All right. Let's go to
Yeah.
the Stinky Pit.
Let's go. We had time to drink, but all right.
Called the Stinky Pit for the fumes of ale, mead, sweat, and entrails that permeate up through the enormous central shaft to buffet those that enter. You see that this is clearly the most popular place in Fuma Town. You see all of these little ghouls and imps and all just, like, I'm using ghouls as a pejorative collective term here, not as, like, to describe a specific entity. Just all lots of little guys just that have all either been cursed, banished, deformed by the cataclysm, but they're all just finding a way here. And after work, it's playtime, and so it's almost like you were joining a running river of like gnashing teeth and just stinky little guys. And you get buffeted into this pit. You see that there are these really crude lift mechanisms made from wood that are winching people up and down the full shaft of the stinky pit. That sounds so bad.
Dude, so fucking gross.
But that's the name of the episode, The Shaft of the Stinky Pit.
Literally, get shafted, Stinky Pit edition. You see that this place is pulsating with life. On every single floor, there's like casino games playing, drinking games playing. There are devils who trade in nothing but souls. And you go down further and further, and at the very base, you see this enormous bar with this incredible succubus behind it, with her hair tied back into like a very, 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 I want to say wet ponytail. You get the idea.
I know what you're talking
The hair is wet. And you deduce that this must be Dravna, the Brew Domain cleric and patron here at the Stinky Pit. And you see some like fighters come out from the ring. One of them's dislocated both their elbow and shoulder on one arm. And you see with a flick of her hand, this divine cleric energy comes out and heals this fighter. You see she smiles and with her other hand and tail pulls 3 pints of ale and serves more customers. This is the place that feels more like home than you ever have since you've left Feldspar, except it's completely different. And that is where we will end our session.
Talk to a soul merchant.
I'm so excited.
Talk to a soul merchant.
I can't believe we're going to get a final hurrah after all. More gambling.
Denny's gonna find one of those like knife like people. I'm using that sleight of hand, baby.
So you know what I find really interesting? When I made Lysandra's character sheet, she has proficiency in playing card sets, which makes me think that she would be good at card.
Yeah. Next session is just gonna be actual poker.
Yeah.
It's going to be Liar's Dice Part 2.
Yeah.
Lies Dice, Bamboo Bitch, the sequel. Well, gang, do we have any selfless plugs for this week?
I've got one. This episode will be coming out in like February sometime, but when we're recording this, it's the day of or the day after David Lynch died. Thanks for your movies, David Lynch. They were really weird and way too fucking long, but they were really good as well. So thank you very, very much, and Godspeed.
Fucking love you, David Lynch.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peaks.
Rest in peaks. You're so right. 2 of them.
And as always, don't forget to follow us on our socials at Down Under Dungeon Pod, or follow all our content on our Linktree. Send us or tag us in all of your fan art, and you can always reach us by email. The email is downunderdungeonpod@gmail.com. And please, whenever you can, leave us a 5-star rating on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And we will see you next week for episode 44.
Oh, shit.
Don't give us numbers.
Almost as old as me.
Time for more gambling.
Yay.